Hey guys, just got back from vacation. We've been at the beach for a week, South Padre Island, with our family. Not everybody got to go this year. We were missing a few, but it was a wonderful time. And I think not only I had my husband, children, grandchildren, most of them, but I also had my mother. And there wasn't a day that went by that I wasn't just consciously thankful and grateful that I still have my mother. And then we come back and it's Father's Day and I don't have my daddy, but it's amazing how much we talked about him. My daddy loved the beach, but it wasn't just about that, but it was the things that he had imparted into us. And then we're blessed to be able to have a mother who's continuing to do that. It's just a miracle in itself. I mean, total miracle. I'm serious about this. That she was with us and healthy enough to do the thing. She's amazing. She's 82 years old, still lives by herself, still has her own vehicle that she can drive and can do so much. In spite of 2 years ago, the last 2 years she didn't get to come. 2 years ago she didn't come because she had a heart attack. She had 3 days of heart attacks, didn't really know what all was going on. And then by the time we found it was a heart attack, and then they went in to put stents in, and trying to drill through there because she has osteoporosis, so it was just be really difficult to try to cut her sternum in two to do open heart. It might not heal back or may not hold the wires to hold it together because her bones are so brittle. But so they went in and tried to drill through. In the middle of that, they ripped the artery, and so she was bleeding out in her heart, and she was dying. I mean, we experienced, us kids, they called us in that back room. We'd already heard the code call. We heard all this, and we were running back there, and they did say she's not dead. She's alive. I mean, they said that she's dead. She's not dead. It was basically she's not dead yet because she was in that process. But God, all of us siblings, of course, we just started praying, and everybody was out in the waiting room that was praying, and I fell on the floor screaming Jesus. I just wasn't ready. I didn't matter. She might have been 80 years old, but I wasn't ready to give her up. It was weird. But immediately God came on the scene and turned things around, and that doctor was able to get the bleeding stopped. And I asked him, what's the chance? And he said, less than 1%. Less than 1% chance that we can get that stopped. Because you're not opened up where they can stop anything. No, you're working through a little camera and a little thing that's inside the vein, right, going up through that artery, and they got that bleeding stopped as they were pumping blood out, pumping blood in, and my mother survived that, and it's just amazing. And then last year she didn't get to go because 30 years ago she had breast cancer and had a mastectomy. 30 years later her cancer came back, another breast cancer in the other breast, and so she had a mastectomy last year. So she's gone through heart attack and cancer in these last 2 years, and to see her, helping me with Gary and as getting on that plane and just doing, and then climbing upstairs. She went upstairs to our condo. She could have stayed downstairs, nope. She wanted to be up there. She could see the view, and God is so mindful of it's us and so many things He does. I want to be mindful of Him. I don't want to ever just move past the miracle. How many of y'all know it can happen? God does things for us, and then we can just move on to the next problem. But I think it's so important, and so that's one reason I do the Testimony Tuesdays, is to remind us and remind myself, don't ever get ungrateful. Don't ever forget the goodness of God. Don't forget what He has already done. It's the way you overcome. It's how you overcome the evil one. Now, the most important thing to me of Mama still being here on this earth, she said I could have just as easy. She goes, I could have died that day, and when they had me under, and I would have never known any different. She said I'd just be with Jody, and so that whole thought was. But I knew as I was listening to her over this week, not only talking to us kids, but more importantly, she was really speaking into the grandchildren. And I'd catch her at different times, talking to the grandchildren by themselves, and just telling testimonies, telling some of her stories. And I'm going to be recording. I did a few. I'm going to start recording Mama and maybe use her for Testimony Tuesdays. Just some of her little stories. but they're not little stories. It's those little things that build us to the bigger things. So today, I'm so thankful I'm home. We had a wonderful week. It wasn't an easy week with Gary. Every year, I don't know if that's gonna be our last one. But getting to the airport, do all that it was a struggle, but it was worth it. So we're here and we're home today, and just glad to be on the journey with you. I hope I say some things to encourage you, to remind you, don't forget. And if you're still here, take opportunity to pour into the generations. I've been doing it. I believe me, they had some Nana time down that beach too, but they also had Mimi time. They got to have their great grandmother and with me, or their grandmother, and great grandmother, and I had with my mother. So God bless you, and we'll see you soon.